Ladies and gentlemen of the world, thank you for joining us. I'm Isaac. James, it's been a minute since we recorded. Took a week off.
It's seriously been a week, yeah.
We took a week off because unfortunately we both have full-time jobs, and unfortunately both of our employers decided to schedule us throughout the entire week.
Yeah.
And give us different. They obviously do not support the podcast because
I'm always opening and you're always closing.
Yeah, they do not support the podcast whatsoever. So we weren't able to record last week, unfortunately, but we're back, and we're back with kind of a banger.
Yeah,
we're in October now, man. This is the month of 2021 that
movie season.
We're all excited for. Yeah, actually, we're going to watch Many Saints, which we might do a review on.
I get to watch it, yeah.
I might just have to solo it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, you probably might have to.
Regardless, one movie that we are both very, very excited for that is coming out sometime, I guess this week, yeah, October, 7th? 8th? Yeah. No Time to Die, the new James Bond movie, the final James Bond movie.
With Daniel Craig.
With Daniel Craig, at least. MGM is not canceling
the actual franchise itself. They're not doing that anymore.
The franchise will continue to exist because that is its sole reason
Cash cow.
To still be a studio, even though they sold to Amazon. Regardless. Yeah. Opening thoughts on James Bond before we start.
Like as a franchise?
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Is this a franchise that you are a huge fan of?
Huge fan of? No.
Mm-hmm.
I like and appreciate it, mainly just because my name is James. So growing up, I was always aware of James Bond.
You thought you were the main character?
Yes, I did.
Fair.
And my dad is a huge fan of James Bond, so I knew all the movies as well. And I even owned some of the books when I was growing up too. I will admit it took me a very long time to get around to watch the Daniel Craig ones.
Yeah.
Because I initially, and I'm talking this was back when I was in like middle school or high school, I wrote them off as like generic action movies. I didn't really think
I think we've talked about that, yeah.
It really wasn't until like Skyfall where everyone was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was definitely in that same boat.
Yeah.
Because I had a roommate who he was big fans of him, and he put on Casino, which we'll talk about in like 5 minutes anyways. And I sat down and watched it with him. I'd see bits and pieces, it's on whatever cable channel, and it's
I had seen some of Quantum before.
Yeah. But I actually sat down and watched it with him, and I was like, damn, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, it's more than just stupid action movies. It's like or spy movies. It's like there's some kind of depth to it.
There's a story there.
Yeah. And I was really impressed with Casino and Skyfall, and going back and having to watch Quantum and Spectre. I haven't gotten to, but I would just watch those for the first times.
So we'll get your first.
This would be my first reactions to them. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. How do you feel about Craig? Is he?
I think he does
having a big knowledge of the franchise, or more knowledge of me, I guess. Is he the best Bond? Is he top 3? Where is he? Because obviously everybody looks towards Sean Connery and
Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
I think I prefer the Daniel Craig Bond just because I like his attitude more. His very. I mean, it's hard to say because he's stoic and emotionless, and there really isn't much personality to him. But in a weird way, that's what I like about him. Yeah. Is that there's not like much to him.
He has a lot of charisma in these movies.
Yeah.
Kind of surprising.
It's never as annoying as the Sean Connery ones, where I at least could be like, Daniel Craig like is an attractive man, but I could not say the same to Sean Connery. So having to watch him like be a womanizer in those movies, I was like, ew, that's kind of that's gross. As a guy. That's gross. But like for Daniel Craig,
it's bad when a heterosexual male is calling you out for being unattractive.
But I mean, that's just my opinion. It should have been Idris Elba though. He should have replaced Craig.
He should replace Craig?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Do you remember when there was like a month-long thing where he was gonna get replaced by the girl in Skyfall and Spectre?
Yeah. I remember that.
Remember? Cause,
I don't remember her name though.
yeah, I don't know her name either. That just shows you that I haven't watched Spectre. But do you remember that when they had like leaked something out that she was gonna be the new 007 or something like that, and everybody flipped out.
Yeah, seriously, because I think Daniel Craig also was like, Bond has to be a guy, like just because. I think Daniel Craig's reaction was basically just make action movies with women in them.
I think I do remember that
of making Bond female, just make an equivalent.
Make a good
Bond,
action movie with.
I see both sides of the arguments because it's like on the one hand, Bond is a massive franchise, so having a female lead
in the massive franchise,
bring, I guess, legitimacy to female action stars.
Sure.
But on the other hand, like the more the merrier, So if you just make a female Bond equivalent and it's not terrible,
especially because we've had female Bond equivalents. They did the thing with Charlize Theron, and I think it was
that Atomic Blonde?
Atomic Blonde.
Yeah.
Charlize Theron was also in Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's arguably the main character in that movie.
Yeah. And it kind of sucks too, because when you think of movies like do another Bond franchise, like clearly people want to see stuff like that because we got John Wick.
Yeah.
The problem is that John Wick is just another white guy like James Bond is. Yeah. And so it's like there's a market for it, but people aren't taking advantage of. Yeah.
It would be cool to see something else.
So I see both sides. I see both sides of that.
I think it's going to be Elba.
Yeah.
I actually kind of hope it is.
I hope Idris. I seriously, the second they were like, we're going to replace Daniel Craig, I was like, please, Idris Elba.
It would either be, to me, it would either have to be Idris Elba, if we're talking just black actors, or John David Washington.
It has to be British.
Yeah, does it though?
He's James Bond.
Does it though?
He's British.
Can you get an American actor to...
It's Tuesday, isn't it?
Can you get an American actor to play a Brit?
Do you think like Washington has a good enough accent?
No, probably
I don't know if his range...
Probably not. No, you're probably right. Good point.
His range doesn't include accents in it.
I'm trying to think, what other black British actors are there? It's really just Idris off the top of my head.
In terms of action, I can only think of Idris Elba, yeah. Someone comes to mind and I don't remember his name. But he's been in very, very good movies. But other than that...
that just narrows it down.
That really narrows it down, doesn't it?
Daniel Kaluuya?
He doesn't have the action movie look to him, though.
You don't think so?
No.
I could see it if he grew out a beard.
Well...
like a thick little beard or something. I mean, he looks dazzling in this picture that we're looking at. I don't even know what this is. Probably some kind of awards party. What about your boy? Not your boy. Chi. I'm not gonna.
Do you remember his name?
No. Elger4. I know it's Elger4.
I always I put all my chips in Idris Elba. That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
people who know me know that I love Idris Elba.
I think it's probably the favorite.
Yeah, for sure.
Look, you don't think he could pull? Look at that. He's got a turtleneck, sports coat. He's got a little facial hair. He's got a nice
Would
fade.
James Bond wear a turtleneck?
Yeah. If it's
all right then.
Daniel Kaluuya. Anyways, all right, let's get going. So Casino Royale came out in 2006. Daniel Craig's debut
as Bond,
and it is a good debut.
You think so?
Spoiler. I mean,
spoiler.
A hot take. Casino Royale is a really good movie. You're about to disagree with me, I can tell.
Well, before I get into that, I want to say something first. This is also like the only Casino Royale, even though it's the first James Bond book. Most people probably don't know this about the franchise. There is one other Casino Royale movie. It was the first one made. It's actually a parody of James Bond. It's actually not... It's like technically official James Bond because I think it was Eon Productions. Mm-hmm. But it's not a Sean Connery movie or a Pierce Brosnan movie. And it's like a comedy. It's not even like a serious spy movie. It's just like making fun of James Bond.
1967.
Yeah, and that's the only other Casino Royale movie.
Yeah.
And this is like, I guess, the official Casino Royale, because it actually is a serious James Bond story.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of weird. Like, it's the first book. So to me, that like it stands to reason it would be the one that's like repurposed the most.
The one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is literally like only the second Casino Royale. Which is understandable because I think it was just right place, right time for not right. That's the wrong phrase. They just got really lucky because it's the first book, and the movie hasn't been made since a terrible 1960s parody, and they want to reboot the franchise. So they have the option to literally start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Which instead of like
actor.
like if they were redoing a Pierce Bronson or Sean Connery Casino Royale, they would probably be like, well, the older one, it would just file it under remakes and reboots basically.
Yeah.
But because it's like a parody movie that nobody ever talks about or even remembers or even knows exists, it's like, well, Casino Royale, you only know the Daniel Craig one, So I think they got really lucky with that. To start the series, to reboot the franchise from like ground zero, basically.
And kind of mold it the way they want it to, which is really interesting because it's each of these movies you can watch individually, but if you watch them together,
there's a story arc.
It's like you're watching a character. It's like watching a TV series almost. Yeah. And it's like you said, it's kind of cool to see them just start from because he gets his 000 license
at
in
the beginning.
Casino. Yeah. So it's like we're really at the beginning, This is basically an origin movie.
Kind of,
for the new interpretation of Bond.
It's an origin movie where he also quits.
More or less, yeah. Do you remember Bond or when they announced Daniel Craig? There was like a big controversy behind it.
No.
I guess because he wasn't as well known, and so people were like, "Why are you gonna cast an unknown in
as a big role?"
Yeah,
I mean, it worked out.
Now,
well, I mean, yeah, I guess.
I mean, that's a pretty big ask.
Well, what was Daniel Craig in beforehand without looking it up?
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It makes sense. It makes sense why there would be like, why are you gonna hand the franchise the keys to? If I'm MGM, I'm like, why am I handing the keys to one of my most popular friends? The only reason I still exist.
Understandable.
To an unknown.
I think we'll also keep in mind, too, that because so many different actors have played Bond, the precedent is there that if he doesn't do well, they just pick someone else for the next movie. I think that was at least probably what they were thinking. Because obviously they saw Daniel Craig and were like, this guy can do Bond.
Yeah.
Let's make him do Bond, right? Unless there was something else where like they were paid underhand to let him go or something,
Harvey Weinstein.
He just happened to be good.
Harvey Weinstein strikes again.
But I think it was more so that they were like, this guy can play Bond really, really well. We'll cast him in this movie. If nobody likes his performance, we'll just replace him with someone else.
Yeah.
In the next one, because that's what Bond has done historically, So who knows? Maybe they
just getting rid of everybody.
Oh, imagine if he sucked and they replaced him, but then they also remade Casino Royale. It was a shot-for-shot remake, just with a different actor.
I do want to see a studio do that one time with the flop of a movie that they come out with.
Just change one actor. And
Warner Brothers almost basically did it with, or semi did it with Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
they changed up. They took out Will Smith and put in Idris Elba.
Yeah.
They changed up some of the characters.
What can you do?
But so looking at it, to answer your question, he was in Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
The video game?
5 years prior.
Is that the Anna Jolie movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Angelina Jolie.
I don't care.
I'm just saying that's the only thing I can. I'm saying that's the only
notable thing.
Yeah, it's the only notable thing he's in.
Well, we
struggled
to name British actors who could do action movies other than Idris Elba. So I guess at the time, if you wanted a British actor who could do action movies, Daniel Craig was probably
the
only one. Maybe.
Let's talk about the movie. So,
Nice. Very.
do you
clean.
think it is different than previous Bonds?
Let me ask
like
you your
we've
question
mentioned?
for you. Do you think it's a good origin movie for Bond?
That was what I was gonna ask you.
You were gonna ask that question.
No.
I could tell you were gonna ask that question.
Anyways,
It's a better question.
It's yeah. I mean, I think this is probably my second favorite Bond out of the Craigs.
Out of
So
the
I guess
three that you've seen,
the second favorite Bond that I've seen. Yeah, I mean, it establishes Bond as, like this guy who's a charismatic individual who, Craig has his own little spin to it where it's not he's seducing, women 20 years younger than him or something like that. Like he's just seducing.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets a little suspect towards, the newer movies, but in this movie at least, him and Eva Green are relatively the same age, so it's kind of like, okay, I get it. It is also cool seeing him have kind of like he's more empathetic, I think. The way to me, the way he consoles Eva Green in the shower after that fight scene.
I think
that's something that the Bond movies missed, because I don't think just skimming the series, I haven't actually sat down and watched everything.
Yeah.
That's not really who Bond was. He was always like this macho man.
He was basically a male Mary Sue, which I think has a name. So I think it's like Martin Sue or something.
Barry
Sue. He was basically like a male. He was the impossible white guy.
Yeah.
Who just did everything, which to some degree in Quantum of Solace he becomes again. But I think it's hard to humanize a character where like the conceit of the character is he can do anything, and get out of everything.
I mean, that's
like
the
he
problem.
can MacGyver his way out of everything.
Yeah, that's the problem that Warner Brothers has had with Superman.
Yeah.
In every film adaptation.
Yeah. Shout out to All Star Superman, which is a good Superman story.
But yeah, you have to give him something to where he can feel blood, or he can bleed. He can bleed, right?
Even emotionally, because I think that's in Casino Royale. You could tell very early on in the movie that's the character arc for Bond they wanted to establish was, there are moments where M is like, don't get, you have to be unemotional. As in, like, you're looking at Daniel Craig and you're like, has this guy ever felt an emotion in his life before?
Yeah.
But M is like, don't let your emotions get in the way.
Sure.
And you're like, so did that happen in the past? Is that going to happen? Well, obviously it's going to happen again. How is it going to happen? Does it happen?
Yeah.
Seriously, when she said that, I was like, he said like 3 words in like the first 30 minutes of the movie. I don't think this guy is.
He's basically a robot.
Yeah.
For the first couple minutes.
Which,
And then he starts to open up towards the end, and then obviously the end happens, and it's like.
Yeah. Well.
Oof.
We'll talk about it.
Go off the deep end.
Go off the deep end. Spoiler alert. Now, how did you think about? Well, let me ask you.
Before you say this,
okay,
ask
me my question for me.
No. I just want to note that it is cool to see a female character on the level of Bond in some aspects.
Eva Green's character,
like in the train scene when they first meet and they're having that back and forth, like basically just like snipping each other, like quipping, with one another.
The British word banter.
There you go, banter. There you go. Thank you. I'm obviously not British. But yeah, I thought that was cool.
I wish we actually saw her doing something.
Yeah, for the most part, she's kind of just arm.
She shows up and she's like, "I'm here to give you money if you lose," and I'm like, "That's it? You have no other."
It's like most female characters in action movies.
In Bond movies, yeah, seriously.
Just action movies in general.
Sucks. I think in terms of so not even the characters, just her compatibility with Daniel Craig in this movie, I think was fine.
Mm-hmm.
it's a very generic relationship where it's enemies to lovers, enemies loosely in this case.
Back to lovers, back to enemies.
Whoa. Back to lovers again.
Is this a 4-act structure? What is this?
She doesn't show up until Act 2. Yeah. I just wish I saw more of her character doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing too: the big issue with his character being so like stoic is it's hard to hint at his internal feelings sooner. Like, for example, when they play the poker game and they're like, you have to enter a password for the bank account in case you win.
Mm-hmm.
We see him like think about it for a second and he smirks and then he enters in the password. He enters in the password after he does that. And I'm thinking like, well, this whole time they've been talking about, the text messages.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he entered in that. Because that's going to be what Mads Mikkelsen enters. So if Mads Mikkelsen wins, he's going to enter in that password and it's all going to get sent to damn Craig. And I'm like, ooh, I mastermind this. And it's revealed that it's actually Ava Green character's name. And I'm like, what? Like, he obviously he thought ahead for some reason. But there was no indication that he wanted like a long-term romantic relationship with her. Because historically, Bond doesn't have a long-term romantic relationship with anyone.
They do go to Venice, though.
And she dies in Venice.
Yeah, that's true. Well, she betrays him. But he wanted to be with her.
He wanted to be with her.
That was going to be the woman that he settles down with. I just got off of work, so I'm fried. He settles down with until he betrays her, which comes up.
She betrays him.
She betrays him. Sorry, but it comes up in later movies, anyways.
Yes, it does. Okay. Let me ask you this: when you were watching this, either for the first time or rewatching this, if you did, did you think that they because you said this was a standalone movie, but that if you watch them all together, you can see a story arc?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like this sets up a good story arc? Like, what would you take away from this? Because the movie ends.
Are you talking about looking at it in a vacuum?
Yeah.
Like if I was watching this back in 2006 for the first time,
what would you
with
think?
no knowledge of any of the other ones?
Yeah.
Would I think it would set up a story arc?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
Because it ends on a cliffhanger. And if you're trying to set
expected.
The thing about it is there's no continual thread that we could see happening.
Yeah.
Right. It's not till Quantum where we're like, Daniel Craig.
They're just talking about all the same characters
Daniel Craig's
again.
like, I'm actually not over Vesper or whatever.
Yeah.
But you didn't really have a reason to believe that that thread would continue.
Yeah.
And so looking at it in a vacuum, no. Looking at it in the context of the 4 movies, I'm still leaning no. But I think it works.
Really thin arc.
But I think it works within the
works
context
just
of the
because
4
it's there.
films. Yeah.
It works because it's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's paper thin.
Yeah. Well, and it should be noted. Well, I guess we'll talk about this when we get to Quantum.
Movies,
yeah. It should be noted when we get to Quantum that they weren't originally going to make it a sequel, but then the writer's strike happened and yada yada yada. Yeah. So I think that's why they continued that through line
idea
to continue it into Quantum. Aesthetically, did you appreciate the modernization of Bond? Do you think
I did
modernized it sufficiently?
It did, kind of. Yeah. Partially personal taste. It was a little too sleek in some areas, in my opinion. Specifically when they go to Monte Carlo and they're at the casino.
Yeah. Sure.
And there's all the fight scenes were all kind of like the stairwell fight scene, for example. I was like, this is too good a cinematography for this kind of scene.
Shake the camera a little bit, please.
Yeah. You're on stairwells. Your balance is too good.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of personal taste. There are elements of James Bond that you will never get away from the character, and that is the sleekness of it. The suits, the Aston Martin,
the Omega.
Yeah. I mean, that's always going to be there because that is what the character is about. I think in terms of cinematography, though, kind of generic.
Yeah.
Well, it really wasn't anything to write home
And
about.
I don't think it matters as much though because you're writing.
No, obviously,
Yeah,
it's James Bond.
you're writing. Yeah, you're writing a lot on
the action.
the action, the plot, and just
Daniel
the
Craig's-
acting of Daniel Craig and the charisma that he carries on the
Yeah.
screen. Like you could have everything on a tripod, nothing move,
Yeah.
just stationary, like whatever.
It's just a
wide,
play.
wide,
Yeah.
cut over the shoulders, insert, and Craig could probably carry that scene pretty well. Just because he demands so much, he has so much charisma when he talks as 007.
Yeah, seriously. Which he never does.
Yeah,
He rarely ever talks.
In every other, did you see the GQ video of him breaking down?
No.
He looked like he did not want to be there. It was so
probably
funny.
not, no.
It was so funny. He was so deadpan and just didn't look like he was having that good of a time.
Understandable. Yeah.
It was funny.
I watch those videos. I'm not even having a good time. Now, speaking of acting, let's talk about Mads Mikkelsen.
He's a villain, all right. Once again.
All right. That's our
See
thoughts
you
on
guys
Mads
later.
Mikkelsen.
No, I mean, what more can you say about Mads Mikkelsen? He's a
I wish he did more.
phenomenal actor. He's phenomenal when he's a villain. He's phenomenal when he's a. I actually kind of prefer him as a villain, but if he's the protagonist, he's also phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
I think he looks amazing with the scar.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's probably my favorite villain look of spy action movies, I would say.
Is there a list?
I mean, I'm probably sure I could make one, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Anytime somebody has a messed up defect scar, I'm like,
It's just like a
that's an
cool
extra
look,
plus 5
yeah.
points to you.
The thing is that I just wish he did more.
Yeah, he's not really in it
Here's the
a
big
whole lot.
issue with his character and the plot of the movie.
Which is funny because I think I'm going to step on Quantum of Solace a little bit. I think the main villain in Quantum of Solace is in it too much.
Yeah.
But
Seriously, I actually have a point about that when we get to
Continue your train of
Quantum of Solace. Mads Mikkelsen character he's like a super genius, right?
Right,
He's
yeah.
a god at poker or something like that. I don't feel like that ever
comes out
at all. And I say that as somebody who if they had the whole poker game was set up like how they show poker, like World Series of Poker on TV,
That'd be funny.
I would have loved to have seen that. I would have been like, how are you gonna write a super genius at poker?
It's really hard to portray that though. Like
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
When you watch the World Series of Poker, you don't these guys. You don't know they don't even know what they're doing half the time. It's all just really lying.
Well, that's the genius part of it.
So it's like, I don't know. Do you have him going to Vegas and winning $1 million at every casino and getting kicked out just like a little 10-minute?
And that's the issue too, is that you can't necessarily, unless you're gonna do Zach Galifianakis in The Hangover, where you throw all the math on screen while he's looking at the blackjack table. It's because I think they actually show him calculating odds earlier in the movie, which if you're good at poker, you're doing that anyway.
Yeah.
But it's maybe he's arrogant about it, therefore he's a genius. It's okay, whatever. I just wish
they're gonna go. They should do the Terminator route and just have the insert of the eyeball. Just
basically, yeah, that's what the scar should have been. Because my issue is, it's the poker stuff I wish was expanded upon, because I would have loved to see how are you going to show a super genius at this thing.
Yeah.
Because then you can do the fact that there wasn't really any heads up moment between him and Daniel Craig, and when there were, they just went all in. And I'm just they didn't even show us their cards. I'm that was so
Bond one with the flush.
But they could have beforehand. As they're betting, they don't show us their cards.
Yeah.
And I'm that's what makes it interesting to watch.
It's he's going all in on pocket aces.
Yeah, you're that's gonna make you, at least even just for the few people who know, you're gonna be oh my god, you would never do that. You shouldn't do that.
He's got a jack and a seven.
Yeah.
Going all in on the jack and a 7. Son of a gun.
But then they're he's a super genius. He can calculate, I'm doing 1,000 calculations per second and they're all wrong.
He's got a calculator under his
and
table.
then he just tortures Bond and then gets shot. I'm like, that's your genius?
It's kind of a waste of meds.
He whips Bond with a chain and then he gets shot. And he's supposed to be a super genius. I don't buy it.
No, it's fair. And I think that's a problem that a lot of movies have when they hire well-known actors as villains. Or good actors as villains. Is oftentimes they just kind of underutilize them. I mean, that's my problem with...
He is underutilized.
The MCU is every single villain in the MCU, other than Thanos, is underutilized.
Yeah. Well, part of that, I mean, saying this out loud now, I feel like... And this is something I love when movies do. And I don't know if it was intentional for Casino Royale, but it could have been. And it would have been great. But if they focused more on Bond's emotional connection to Vesper and how he gets more tied up in his emotions than he does the impersonal elements of his work, and that was, quote unquote, the real villain, I feel like they had that idea like halfway through the movie and was like, we're going to do that now. If they had that idea from the beginning, I think it would have made the movie way more cohesive. Because I don't know if this happened to you. Did you rewatch it for this? No? When I was watching it, they killed... Matt Mikkelsen dies.
Right.
And I'm like, cool. Done and dusted.
Roll credits, right? Wait, there's 25 more minutes left.
47 minutes left in this movie.
Yeah.
What? And then it goes in all the Ava Green stuff. And I was like, that's where I'm thinking, like, okay, they wanted the real villain to be Bond's emotion.
Yeah.
Because he's hurt that he was betrayed, as opposed to he could have just shot Ava Green and been like, give me the briefcase back. But he doesn't.
But he doesn't because he loves her.
Yeah. But that's not like explored or... It's not explored then, and it could have been explored in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have made it more cohesive, in my opinion. Now that I say that.
Or if you have Eva Green working with Mads Mikkelsen.
Whoa. Well, that's too generic. You're getting in the Indiana Jones
we're talking about one of the most generic spy movies.
True.
Spy series.
True.
Of all time.
It's hard to... You say that, and I realized that I was like, oh, that's Indiana Jones territory? Wait, that was inspired by Bond.
Yeah.
It all comes full circle.
What
would you have preferred that they did
with Eva Green's character?
Either her character or with Matt Mikkelsen's character.
I just think setting up that she was going to betray him was... That needed to be something bigger.
You think so?
Yeah, because it's the whole, you need to show the gun before you use it.
Well, yeah, that's true. Like, I was saying that with his emotions.
It doesn't even have to be like... he's taking a phone call and it's like, I'm gonna take the briefcase tomorrow night.
Yeah,
it's just like a small little, like my favorite example of a subtle betrayal that I didn't catch until like the sixth time I watched this movie was in The Dark Knight.
I thought you were say The Godfather.
No. That's not subtle at all. Was The Dark Knight when Harvey Dent is saved. And then the cops lead him away and put him in the thing, and then the car takes off, and they hold on the female cop who betrays him for like a second longer than any other director would, and I caught that probably like my fifth rewatch. I was like, oh, that's why he did that. I was like, this guy Nolan doesn't know how to edit, and I was like, wait, I'm an idiot. Nolan doesn't know how to edit. And I finally caught on why.
I see.
Yeah.
You know what's funny too is that when they're in Venice in Casino Royale, they have a moment where she's looking through binoculars and she spots a guy with the James Joyce glasses, where one is sunglasses and he has those funky glasses. And then she she has that stare where she's like, ooh, Bond better not see this. And I'm like, in hindsight, I'm like, you could have just made that a little more explicit.
Yeah. That's all I'm asking for.
Because it's one of those things I think directors and writers do where they're like, the audience isn't going to know. Is she with them? Is she against them? Are they going to get hunted down?
It
doesn't pay off. Yeah. It doesn't translate into a payoff, basically.
Yeah.
Regardless, I could have done better.
If an agent is watching this, we're both hired for work, screenwriters looking for work. I enjoy it though.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I know we have this tendency, and I've noticed this watching our pods when I edit, is we bash a movie
and then still like it.
and usually that means that we actually end up liking it.
Yeah.
I think for movies we hate, we only talk for like 5 minutes.
Well, it's one of those things too where it's like
You want it to be better than it is because you enjoy it so much as it is.
Yeah, that. But also, like, if you've seen the movie, you probably like the same things that we already liked.
Yeah.
So we don't really have to talk about that as often, you know, as opposed to, you know, if somebody hadn't seen the movie and they were like, I might not like this in the movie, and I say I didn't like this.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, okay, thank you for saying
That's
that.
fair.
And I'm like, I like Daniel Craig. They're like, well, yeah, I like him too. This doesn't tell me anything about the movie.
Spoiler alert. Daniel Craig is good. Or hot take alert. Sorry.
Oh, you can't say that. Man. Spoiler alert, Daniel Craig dies in Squid Game.
This is the highest grossing Bond movie of all time, though. Did you know that? Oh, until Skyfall.
Until Skyfall, I was going to say. I thought Skyfall had
until
that.
Skyfall.
Well, obviously that makes sense. Bringing back a big franchise like this.
It had only been 4 years though, since the last Pierce Brosnan movie, which was
GoldenEye?
No Time for Love or something like that.
Oh,
it was The World Is Not Enough. Or Die Another Day, sorry. Die Another Day. Which, funny enough, was also a reboot of the Bond franchise. They rebooted with Pierce Brosnan.
There you go. And then they immediately replaced him with Daniel Craig. Told you they do it. And then if Daniel Craig sucked, they would just go back to Pierce Brosnan. But
I wonder how that worked. How did that work? How many was Brosnan in? At least 4?
I have no idea.
GoldenEye, he was definitely in. I remember GoldenEye.
Yes.
License to Kill was not Brosnan. So he was in 1, 2, 3, 4. So he was also in 4.
Nice.
Cool. Anyways, regardless.
Pretty impactful to only be in 4 movies and still be considered one of the best Bonds.
Yeah.
Which, you know, same with Daniel Craig.
How many was
Sean Connery?
He was in a couple, right?
He was in too many.
Jesus Christ. Let's see. He was in the beginning, right? He was the first?
No. The first was Casino Royale.
No.
Casino
The
Royale.
first. He was the first Bond.
I mean, technically, Casino Royale was still the first Bond movie.
Anyways. Okay, so it does go Connery is first. Yeah. So Connery was first.
Dr. No.
Anyways. Any last words on Casino? Before we move on to Quantum?
It's alright. It's alright. It's not bad. Yeah.
I like it. It's pretty good.
It's good.
It introduced me into the world of Bond.
It's long, but it's good.
It is a little long. I'll admit that. It's how many minutes? 144 minutes, so 220.
Yeah.
That is right? Yeah, 220. 120 minutes is 2 hours.
Like 2 hours and a half. 2.5 hours.
2.5.
Almost.
Round up, round down.
We're not math people. You say
it is
anything higher than
ridiculously
90
long
minutes.
though, because most action movies are around that 2 hour time, and it's like even that is kind of pushing it borderline. Like you really want to be around like 150.
And this is just a general point to say, but that is really my biggest issue. Probably my biggest issue with the movie. Why I probably wouldn't watch it again.
Is it long?
Is not just it's long, but like you said, there's not all the like quote unquote Chekhov's guns aren't really set up to begin with.
Yeah.
So when a movie this long, it's like, okay, this plot line is wrapped up. We're gonna do the next one, but that one hasn't been set up necessarily, so you don't know what payoff you want.
Sure.
When they do that Ava Green stuff, I'm like, they already love each other. I don't like.
Why is she doing
not
this?
it? Yeah. And it's not set up, so I don't expect to be paid off in any way, and it just feels over. That was also the issue with freaking Last Jedi.
Way to bring up that sore subject. All right, let's move on to Quantum of Solace.
Quantum of
2008 stars Bond as
Whoa.
Craig as Bond, like obviously.
Stars Bond as Daniel
And
Craig.
Olga, what was her name?
I already forgot.
Kirilenko.
I actually think that's right. Yeah, Kirilenko.
We only want to pronounce the name because we actually had to look it up.
We Google translated it immediately before recording, and I already forgot.
We
Kirilenko.
already forgot. This
Directed
movie.
by Mark Foster.
You mentioned that this movie, that Casino, was too sleek and too clean at some points.
Yeah.
For your tasting, I would argue the inverse of that for this movie. This movie was not as clean.
Nope.
And not as sleek.
Is that your criticism of it, or are you just saying that?
It is for the action sequences. I had a headache within the first 10 minutes of watching this movie. I don't get headaches watching movies.
No?
But when, there's 6 million cuts of Bond being rammed against a wall on on an Italian highway.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, time out. Can we go to a wide shot or something? Like, I don't need to see the door getting squashed 6 times, cut to James's face, cut back to a gunman shooting all within a second and a half. Like, this is too much. Though everything else about this movie, as far as just the aesthetic of it, I did appreciate. I did appreciate it was in the slums. Daniel Craig is constantly beaten up in this movie.
Yeah.
They're both super dirty, which I think the poster does a good job of portraying. It's both of them just looking like they're beat up.
They literally just got a plane crash.
Yeah, because the cool thing, and I think you need to do with Bond, and we touched on this a little bit ago, was you need to take him to his lowest depths as an agent.
Yeah.
So you need to take him from, he was living the high life. He was with his girlfriend. He was living it up. He got betrayed. Now I'm in South America, in the slums, fighting a warlord or eco-terrorist, whatever he was.
Whoever he is. Yeah. Let me ask you this. What the hell is a quantum of solace?
It was funny because on my research for this movie, the Quantum of Solace was literally only picked as the title because it sounded like a James Bond title. Craig and the director picked that title because of that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until they went through their 5th or 6th rewrite that they actually incorporated the Quantum of Solace into the actual story.
That's hilarious.
It was who knows what it is.
I have no idea what it is. They said it at one point. Cool. The guy's like, I promised you a quantum of solace.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there it is. What is it?
Roll credits. It sounds cool.
Yeah.
Quantum of Solace definitely sounds like
Quantum of Solace.
It definitely sounds like a James Bond title.
Yeah, for sure.
It just has no
meaning whatsoever.
connotation to the film.
So anyway, let me say this. All your points in order. I'll go in order. First off, to the actual aesthetic and cinematography of this movie, I liked it. It was my favorite. I have also gone on record as saying
that you like shaky cam.
I like shaky cam. It doesn't give me
If you have a tripod in your movie, James doesn't want to watch it, basically.
That's just for me personally.
Sure. It's you know what?
Didn't mind it.
Everybody has their own opinions.
Everyone has their own taste,
even if they're wrong.
I'm
just kidding.
It is brutal to start your movie that way with the car chase.
Yeah, I enjoy the whole Inra song when you start.
Yeah.
Or in
medias res.
In media res. Sorry. I enjoy that. I like that. I like just let's go. Let's not set anything up.
Yeah.
Let's just get especially for an action
Casino
movie.
Royale does that.
Yeah, especially for an action movie. Let's just jump into it.
Yeah.
Let's just start this thing going.
Let's just jump right in.
But when you have 50 cuts in a span of 3 seconds, is when I draw the line. Okay, that's all I want to say.
I didn't mind it. It's not as bad as Taken 3, but
no,
jumping over a fence.
Nothing will ever be Taken 3 levels.
Nothing will ever be Liam Neeson jumping over.
Nothing will ever be Bohemian Rhapsody dinner scene.
Yeah,
level of cut.
At least you're not that bad.
Sorry, best editing Oscar. I'm talking bad about. Sorry.
So then, to your second point about this being him at his lowest depths, I actually saw after I watched it, I was looking up just about the movie I saw. I think it says on the Wikipedia page, this movie had the most instances of violence
in a Bond movie.
Despite being the shortest Bond movie. It's only an hour and 46 minutes.
Bond himself. Craig himself said this movie sucked to shoot. He compared,
I saw that.
He thought Casino was a walk in the park compared to this movie because I think he almost died once. He broke some stuff.
I can see it. Yeah,
just because of the level of physicality that was in this movie.
This, when I was, and I had that thought when I was watching this, I was like, what the pitch for this movie probably was? It was probably James Bond is back. He can do anything.
And he's poor.
Also, think about how far stunts have come since the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where you don't have to we don't, in a weird way, the advancement of technology has allowed us to remove it in a lot of ways. And, it's not like the fake punching of like, oh, I punched you, Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, just put a stuntman in and punch him. He's okay with it. It's legal.
He gets paid to do it.
Yeah. He's willing to do it.
Yeah.
And I was watching this movie and I was like, that was a pitch for this movie where somebody was like, stunts have come so far, we could take James Bond and just do good stunts. Because Casino Royale has that. The parkour at the beginning was real parkour. Shout out to those guys, by the way.
Shout out.
Because, can you imagine being up on the top of those buildings and those cranes?
I don't even like being on
They
top
were.
of our building. I go outside in our patio and I'm like, ah!
Oh, man.
I'm just kidding. Could you imagine just never going outside?
But that for me, I was like, because I had noticed, I was like, this is really violent. They clearly were like, let's just take Daniel Craig and just beat him up.
Yeah,
basically.
Which is a good thing that every sequel
I thought it was
should do.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still fried. Every sequel should do is take their main character and just throw him into the depths of hell.
Dark Knight Rises.
It's like
you were like
Dark Knight.
Well, you specifically had said that in Dark Knight Rises they were like, let's just beat up.
Oh yeah.
Christian Bale for
physically
for 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like John Wick 2.
Yeah.
John Wick 2
let's just throw him off a building.
John Wick 2 does a lot in that movie. They throw Bond off a building. When I saw that, I was like, God, this is crazy.
There's so many stunts that there are some that where I'm just like, okay, come on. I'm specifically thinking of a plane dogfight.
I was gonna mention that.
I was gonna mention that. Good idea, but that's enough.
It sounded cool on the whiteboard or on the corkboard when you actually implemented it into the actual film. Mm-hmm. Especially because it was such a that is the definition of plot armor.
Oh yeah.
The minute somebody gets the drop on you in a fighter plane, I'm sorry, you should be dead. There's no way in hell you should survive.
Well, for me, the big issue was like, okay, Bond can fly a plane. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You're a secret agent.
I bought that. I didn't.
You could probably have learned aviation skills.
He probably played GTA a couple times.
Yeah.
I didn't question that.
Played Flight Simulator. Microsoft Flight Simulator. He can fly a plane. Cool. He can fly this plane. I don't fly. I assume the controls are more or less standardized across the board. Okay, that's fine. He can dogfight in a plane like that?Maybe not. He can crash land in a plane like that? Maybe not.
He can pull a parachute 50 feet above the floor and not suffer any broken limbs?
Yeah, it's a no. No.
Is Bond Superman?
That was one of those things where they were falling and I was like, he's gonna pull the parachute. Okay, he has to pull the parachute now. Okay, they're this close to the ground. If they pull it now, he's gonna die.
Yeah.
Okay, they're this close to the ground.
They tried to test the limits of how far they could go to beat a Bond and make it look cool, and they went too far.
Too far with that. That's why I'm saying he has that impossible white man kind of plot armor in this movie, where it's like he falls hundreds of feet and hits the ground basically without the parachute, and then the next scene he's just there's
casually
no dirt on him
walking around. Yeah, because at least when I hate that
fixing his sleeves. And
it's like John Wick. John Wick is like by the end of the movie that man's on crutches.
Yeah,
he's had 6 concussions, 3 broken limbs. He's who knows where mentally, and he's just walking around just like all right, let's go, puppy.
Yeah. So that's my big issue with, because, and that's the fine line across the board with these kind of movies, is it's cool to see people get beaten up and do stunts.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you get beaten up, you're beaten up. You're not gonna feel so hot, you know. And I say that knowing that, you know, people like Jackie Chan did stunts where they like jumped on the helicopters from, you know, the roof of a building, or he like jumped on the moving trains and like did super crazy stuff like that, and he was still, you know, acting and walking away from those. But it's one of those things where I'm just like,
especially with a franchise that was willing to show chinks in his armor,
yeah,
at least in the first movie, to not have Bond like be in a cast, or, you know, like sporting like his arm in his jacket like this or something like that, and having to shoot with one arm. Yeah, that would have been super cool. But the fact that they didn't want to do that because they still wanted to maintain that level of invincibility that Bond has known to have throughout the franchise, it's kind of a slap in the face.
And I think, well, to some degree, I can see them not wanting to do that, because especially when, well, you've seen Chinatown, right? You don't have to admit to anything. The Jack Nicholson movie.
My memory is not working right now.
In Chinatown, he plays the like super stereotypical like neo-noir detective, you know, the infallible, basically the old school impossible white guy. But he runs into some goons and they cut his nose, and he spends the rest of the movie with a cast over his nose. And it's one of those things where it's like they're very purposely taking this quote unquote like, you know, the master detective and making him vulnerable. He gets beaten up and he has to wear this cast over his freaking nose for the rest of the movie, and it's in your face the whole time to be like, this guy is not a superhero. He's
a human being.
Literally bled when he was cut, you know. And I can see them not wanting to do that for Bond because it's Bond, you know. Which it's
our guy can't lose.
If you can take an impossible heroic character and make him vulnerable without losing the heroic element, that's really difficult to do, but it works every time you can pull it off. Shout out to All-Star Superman. I think the issue was he basically should have been dead by the end of the movie.
He should have been dead by the moment he was in that plane. Yeah. No way he should have survived that.
So that's just, no.
Yeah, it's too much. It's a little too. Let's talk about the villain. Okay. Played by Mathieu Amalric.
Dominic. The character's name was Dominic.
I
will refer to him as Dominic.
Yeah, not the greatest villain.
All right, so that's Dominic.
I'll start with that.
You said that he did too much?
I think he just had too much screen time.
I was okay. This was my point. I remember I said I was going to have something to say about him.
Yeah.
What I didn't like about this movie Casino Royale didn't adhere to this 100%. But Quantum of Solace just ignores it. This movie kind of isn't from Bond's perspective.
No. Yeah.
We see a lot of Olga's. I don't know the character's name at all. We see a lot of her perspective. What is it?
Camille?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Everybody has an accent in this movie. I can't understand anything. We see a lot from her perspective. We see a lot from Dominic's perspective. And we see a lot from M's perspective, which at least makes sense because that M's 16, you know. Is that what the M stands for?
I think it says for mom.
That's lame.
I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
Oh, okay. Imagine if Daniel Craig just turns over and is like, Mom.
It can't stand for mom because Ralph Fiennes is the new M. So it's like, did I just spoil Skyfall?
He's also Mom.
I'm just kidding. Anyways, continue.
Most people probably know that spoiler anyway.
Yeah. Continue. I mean, he's in the poster for the new one. Continue your the trailer.
It's not from Bond's perspective necessarily.
Which he's like he's, you know what this felt like, and I don't mean to. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but it felt like this was a video game.
I can see that.
Like Bond traveled. It's like Just Cause. This is Just Cause 3, basically. Like the main character travels to another part of the world, and he's just wrapped up. This is Far Cry. This is what this is.
I was gonna say Far Cry.
The main character traveling to this is Far Cry 4. The main character traveling to another part of the world for a reason, and he gets wrapped up in the political turmoil of that region.
Yeah.
You just ripped off Far Cry 4.
Well, also this movie came out.
I'm pretty sure this movie came out after or before Far Cry 4.
It probably came out before Far Cry 2. But like, yeah, that's that for me. At least when I was watching it, it was specifically very early on in the movie when they are in the Dominican Republic, Haiti.
Yeah.
And they go to the docks, and he follows the woman to the docks.
Yes.
And then it does all the conversation with them, and he's just watching on the sideline. I'm like, for some reason, this would have been way cooler if I just didn't know what they were talking about. Because it's one of those like weird things where writers will not have object permanence for a second, where it's like, we know the conversation that happened between Camilla and Dominic and the general, but James Bond was so far out of hearing range that he couldn't possibly know. But for some reason, he knows exactly what's going on and knows all the cues and know who's on whose side. And I'm just like, if we had seen it from his perspective, would we have been able to understand the same thing that he walks away from? Because we can't.
Especially because that woman pulled the damn gun on him.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. Yeah, that's just for me. I was like, you lose object permanence for a second there as a writer. Just, I would have preferred if it was.
It was also just very uncharacteristic. Bond makes a lot of choices in the beginning that are very uncharacteristic.
Specifically following
her.
Which.
Why was he there in the beginning to begin with? Why was he there?
In Haiti.
In Haiti.
Because so do you remember?
I know he's chasing Vesper's killer, or her. Is it her boyfriend or her killer?
Boyfriend.
I remember that.
Or at least the boyfriend's killer, because they believe the boyfriend to be dead.
Right.
So they are like, this guy is, more or less the last person to have seen him alive, or at least his friend or something like that.
So that guy was in Haiti?
Yeah. He goes to meet him in Haiti.
Stupid. This is a video game.
He goes to meet him in Haiti. That's the guy he fights scene with, right? For him. It's a good fight scene.
That is a good fight scene. When he puts him through the glass.
Yeah.
When he puts him through the glass,
that was one of the things where I was like,
this is a different Bond movie. Yeah. I like this.
And when people were complaining about this movie is trying to be too like gritty and realistic, I was like, it pulls it off pretty well, in my opinion.
That's the moment where I said to myself, has Bond actually ever done this to anybody?
Has he actually had a fight scene?
Because he fights that guy, and then I don't remember if it's before or after it's before when the guy shoots the inside agent shoots the other MI6 and then tries to kill M. And he chases after him.
Mm-hmm.
When
they go over the
when they're fighting each other, and then he shoots him just straight up. I'm like, has Bond actually ever done that? Because that's kind of cool.
I mean, the stairwell fight scene in Casino Royale comes.
Yeah, but to shoot somebody just straight up, bah! Like, I need you alive, but I'm just gonna kill you because I'm tired of messing around with you.
Which I liked was they gave him one fatal flaw in this movie, is that he just kills everyone.
Yeah,
that's it.
They acknowledge it though.
M is like, stop killing people. And
I thought that was cool though, because
I can't.
This turned into a hitman mission halfway through. It was just like, I'm killing everybody that gets to my target.
Pretty much.
Get out of my way.
So he blows his cover. It's like in the stealth game where you blow your cover once, and you're like, I guess I just have to kill everyone.
This is playing Dishonored, trying to play Dishonored on low chaos.
But
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too.
It just every decision that Craig made after that was just kind of like, why?
It was
like he grabs a briefcase and just immediately starts going with it, which I understand as a secret agent,
which he would do anyway. To me, that made sense. Yeah.
But then the lady shoots him, or Camille tries to kill him, and it's like, why would you try and get involved with that? I don't know.
I think,
like, maybe just don't kill the guy you went to go see to begin with. Just
maybe not. You never know. Yeah, I think I had a point to bring up about his characterization in this movie, and I completely forgot what it was. It had to do with him
killing people.
Killing people, I think. I'll remember it later.
Do you think it's maybe because, and this is me going full English teacher, that he's just hell bent on revenge for Vesper.
If they had set it up that way, it would have.
Well, because M drops a line in there, and she's
Mhm.
like, "You need to stop thinking with your emotions and logic."
No, she specifically says like you're thinking about revenge.
You're acting out of revenge right now.
Yeah, she says that explicitly. I mean,
which is kind of cool place to take a Bond character. Because
the
Bond thing about Bond was always like, "This is my mission."
I just do my mission. Yeah.
And now I'm defying everything.
That was my point. In this movie. In the first movie, it's set up that Bond is like rogue, but he's good at his job, so they kind of let him go rogue when he wants to. In this movie,
he's bad at his job.
He's like, see you guys, I'm just gonna do what I want for some reason, and they don't do anything really about it. And I was the plot, that element of the plot. I was like, maybe you could have done more here.
Well, it would have been cool if he was on the run.
I was literally gonna say, like, if they
have this scene
agents
where
after him.
Well, they have the agents go after him.
But what did they do?
Well, remember, M is like, "We're coming in, like we're not doing this."
Oh, yeah.
And then he takes off and he tells M, "Hey, you do what you got to do. I'm gonna finish what I started."
Yeah.
And M is like, "God damn it, Bond." And then she tells the other agent, "Hey, just stand down. Just follow him. He's going somewhere with a lead.
Yeah.
Just stand down." And it's like, what? This would have been so cool if he was, on the run from both. He's on the run from his own country, his own, fellow agents.
I wasn't have my.
Also trying to track down. It would have been this three-way game of cat and mouse.
I think,
and it would have been cool if Dominic would have fed into the MI6 and be like, "Hey, he's here."
Yeah. Or even if it was like,
"We'll feed you Bond if you get him off my tail," and
something like
we'll
that.
call it even.
Especially because then they have this weird, like, it's hard to say it's a plot line because where does it go?
Yeah.
With the relationship between the British and the American and Dominic Green, where the British are like, we know about Dominic Green and we know what he's doing, and we know he's in cahoots with the Americans, but the Americans don't admit to doing anything with
that
him
plot
whatsoever.
I thought that plot was pointless.
Yeah. Even the fact that, what's his name? Fox something. The American agent.
David Harbour?
Yeah. Whatever his character's name
I don't know
is.
his character's name.
It starts with
but I know it's David
It's
Harbour.
Fox something.
Because
He's in like every Bond movie too. There we go. Felix.
Greg. Wait, Felix?
Yeah,
Oh,
Felix.
so not David Harbour.
No.
Okay.
That's who he is. I recognized him. I was like, where have I seen this guy before?
Hellboy.
Yeah.
No. We don't talk about that. Anyways.
Felix. He's there, and I'm like, he's in every James Bond movie, and he's always like kind of friends with Bond, kind of not friends with Bond. And in this one, I was like, ooh, they're gonna do the he's not friends with Bond, and then he like gives him information, and then like,
well, because you're led to
nothing else
believe in
happens.
the beginning that he's trying to play it straight. Because
Yeah.
he's like, when they show the picture of Bond,
mhm.
he's in the
Airplane.
He's like, "Oh, I don't know who that is." But it's
Yeah.
like, dude, you were in the last movie, okay? You know who this guy is. And that's when David Harbour calls him on. I was like, "Hey, you know who he was. Why are you acting like that?"
Yeah. Well, what can you do?
So it's like, oh, is Felix the inside man for
Bolivia.
for Bond to get information on Dominic Green? And he was, but it would have been cool if it was like, am I actually gonna?
Yeah.
Like we could have done more with the Felix character. I feel. Because Jeffrey Wright's a pretty good actor.
Oh yeah, for sure. How did you feel about the Bond girl, Camille?
Which one?
That's a good one. Okay, well, there was one who was only there to like do nothing.
Service the sexy.
Yeah, and then there's Camille,
Let me ask
who
you.
was there to kind of also do nothing.
Let me ask you this, because this bothered me when I watched this. He got emotional over the girl he had sex with. Did you buy it? Did you buy it? Is what I'm asking. Sorry, I didn't buy it.
Here's the thing. This goes back to the big issue with Bond being stoic and kind of personalityless. Is it's hard to then show, like, without him explicitly saying like I wasn't emotional over her, but also she was innocent and shouldn't have been killed. Like if he had just explicitly said exactly that, I would have been like, understandable. Go on your rampage, go off, king.
Because when he sits there while looking at her body, you feel like he just watched his wife die.
Yeah,
to a degree. He's still trying to play it, cool. Straight faced because obviously
he has to be.
He's a secret agent. But it did feel like there was some sort of attachment he had with her, and it was kind of like
it's not shown.
Well, and it's also just like the whole reason you're in this country is because of Vesper, and you're here. You are crying over a girl you didn't even know who she was, and it's a one night stand. Like.
His priorities.
I understand the Vesper thing because you were willing to give up your life for her.
His job for her. Yeah.
But this one girl who had a one night stand with, I was like, I don't buy that. I didn't buy it.
I don't buy Bond girls as a concept. I think they're all like as a plot device, which it sucks to say that these women
are plot devices.
Have to be plot devices in these movies. Yeah. I just don't like that personally.
It's fair.
As much as I like the franchise, and I will watch these movies. It's
the one thing you don't like.
That's the only reason I was really excited for a female Bond. So I was like, now we're gonna get a Bond guy, not a Bond girl.
It's fair.
That's just my opinion, though. But no, about Camille.
Olga. She was okay. I don't know. To me, it ties into why is Bond doing this? Because she doesn't really have redeeming qualities.
It seems like he only does it because he feels sorry for her for something.
But why? That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not explicitly stated why he has.
He just seems like he feels sorry for her for something.
Like he's trying to get to his wife's or ex-girlfriend's ex-boyfriend or killer or whatever, but it's just kind of why are we doing this? This is a side mission. This is the definition of a side mission.
Yeah. Dude, Bond just does all his side quests.
Maybe that's what it was. He was trying to level up before
100%.
He was trying to level up. It was 100% speed run. He was trying to get
this is a short movie, so it kind of was a speed run.
Let's talk about that. Did you think the movie was too short, too long?
I thought it was just right. That's what I liked about this movie.
As much as I hated the 50 million edits in
certain parts
span of 2 seconds, I did appreciate that it was just like, boom, we're just gonna go.
Seriously,
this was. I mean, to me, this was the stereotypical Bond movie, which is like you have a mission, you have a task. We're gonna layer a little bit of depth into it as far as Bond's character, his motivations, his relationship with other agents, M, Felix.
But then we're just gonna fight stuff.
But it's literally just nonstop. We're just gonna shoot stuff and do what we have to do. Which, as much as I enjoy when franchises deviate, we talk about, like, to me, Iron Man, Captain America 2, probably my favorite MCU movies because they're so different from the rest. I do appreciate sometimes.
You do the formula, but you do it well.
Sometimes when you do the formula, but you do it well. Like the X-Men movies. I love X-Men 1, 2. You're about to say something? First Class and Days of Future Past. And I like those movies and I appreciate what they do, but I also appreciate movies like Logan that differentiate from that formula.
That's actually a good example of the next one.
But it should be noted, because we've been talking a lot about the writing problems with this film, and there are many. I don't think anybody would say that the screenplay is the strong point of this film. This was produced in the middle of the writer's strike.
There were production problems.
Yep. So there were a lot of production problems. We briefly talked about this when we were talking about...
Daniel Craig did not like working on this movie.
But what had happened was... It was basically Mark Forster.
I think I called him Mark Foster earlier.
Yeah, so. Forster. It's Forster. Mark. We're just going to call him Marky Mark. Basically, what Marky Mark and Daniel Craig had to do was write the script on their own.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned when we talked about Casino, was that there wasn't going to be a heavy reliance on Casino
Mm-hmm.
for this film, but because of the writer's strike, they obviously didn't have a screenwriter to create something original.
It's also, we should say, not based on a previous Bond material.
Sure, but it is based on a short film, a short story.
Yeah.
Written by Ian Fleming.
Yeah, but not like
Yeah, no, you're right.
adaptation.
Yeah.
They know what I mean.
Um,
Which, okay, so then let's say
you can definitely tell that it was written in the middle of a writer's strike.
a little bit. I mean, it's not the worst.
It's not.
thing.
No. It's not. This is not bad.
Yeah, there's actually some fulfillment in the arc of finding the boyfriend. It gets fulfilled in this movie, surprisingly, actually. But you have your point to say.
It was just a little tidbit about the writer's strike.
Yeah, go ahead.
Haggis, the actual screenwriter, one of the actual screenwriters, said he wrote it. He completed it and submitted it to the studio 2 hours before the strike began.
Really?
Which is crazy.
That's very funny. That's actually kind of lucky for that.
That's really crazy. Yeah, imagine not even having a script.
This movie probably wouldn't have gotten made then.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of films, the strike of 07, 08 stopped a lot of productions. I mean, even like daily shows, comedy shows.
And IATSE might do the same for good reasons, nonetheless. But it's
Vote
just
yes.
the industry.
Vote yes, even though I'm not in the guild, or the union, I should say.
No. What was my point? Because I was actually gonna say something. Oh yeah,
something about the writer.
No, about the through line in this movie with the first one, that overarching story arc.
Sure.
Because this movie begins with it and ends with it, and he has a side quest in the middle. Did you like that conclusion at the end? Because it kind of doesn't. Because he finds the boyfriend.
When he finds the boyfriend and kills him? Well, he doesn't kill him.
He doesn't explicitly kill him. It's not shown.
True.
It's not shown. Interestingly enough, too, the girlfriend was apparently a Canadian agent. That I thought was interesting. That I was like, are they gonna? Is that they're gonna be a through line in the next movie now? What are they gonna do with that? I haven't seen Skyfall, by the way. So, yeah,
and he drops the necklace, right? He drops Vesper's necklace.
It's the exact same necklace that he gave to the Canadian.
To me, I mean, I feel like that's just either the director or the writer being like, all right, we're done with this.
Yeah.
We're moving on to something new in the next movie. Where this is not going to be a 4-act structure about Bond and his love
his dead girlfriend.
Yeah, Bond and his love to Vesper.
Yeah.
Did I like it? I mean, I didn't. I'm neutral. It's not something I was like, yes, Bond, you go, man. Move on. Let's, city boys up,
It gave me No Country for Old Men. It feels like a discount version of that. The ending of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Where he visits the girl and he doesn't explicitly kill her. But he's in the home with the gun and then he leaves the home. And then that's what I felt like this was kind of doing. I guess it's okay. The big issue, though, and here's the thing. Did you even care about that storyline to begin with?
No, because we spent an hour and a half not talking about that storyline.
We were fighting Bolivian generals in the Atacama Desert.
We were somehow overthrowing and also saving 2 different regimes within the same government.
Yeah, pretty much. That's actually literally the plot.
Ghost Recon Wildlands? Yeah. What is this crap?
That's the plot. By the end of the movie, how did you feel the ending? Bond.
So let's go back to the real ending.
Yeah.
The side quest ending. Mm-hmm. How did you feel about that?
The hotel scene?
When they siege the hotel scene with 2 people. Classic Bond.
Yep.
And
man versus an army.
Take over, they kill. I mean, it's not he doesn't explicitly kill him, but like he left him in the middle of the desert with motor oil.
He's said to be dead by the end of the movie.
Which I thought was cool. I just want to say, I thought that was badass.
Yeah.
Just to be like, I'm not going to kill you, but, get to walk.
You're going to die anyway. Yeah.
Especially the motor oil for the girl.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty badass.
I mean, the whole hotel stuff is a bit much, especially if you know anything about fire. They should have been dead.
Yeah. Well, there's a scene, right, where isn't it like everything blows up and they're like running slow mo CGI or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty. I think my brain just kind of shut off. I was like, all right, this is just typical action movie stuff. Yeah. Nothing to digest here.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And then he shoots the fire hydrant or whatever
and
to stop the fire.
Some of that stuff, I'm like,
it's another plot armor.
Here's what I like. Okay, I love it when characters are resourceful in creative ways like that.
Sure.
There's a problem where would you have necessarily done? It's like Jaws, where he shoots the shark and the shark blows up. It's like I don't know. Something like that. It's more so the luck of it.
Because they had to be there in a sight line of a fire extinguisher or whatever it was.
It's like you would have a fire extinguisher in the hallway, but in a bedroom in a hotel?
Yeah.
Would you? I don't know. You wouldn't.
Pretty sure that's against the fire code.
Yeah.
I'm not up to date on Bolivia's fire regulations, but that doesn't seem safe.
I actually think the hotel is in Chile. Like geographically in real life, it's in Chile. Because it's in the Atacama Desert.
Well, okay.
Geography nerd.
Regardless, South American fire regulations. Just throw a big blanket on that.
Yeah, that's one of those things where, I don't know. I didn't mean to move the mic. The hand-to-hand combat in this movie is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
All the other kind of combat in this movie sucks.
That's exactly how I feel about it. Anytime they're in a vehicle, I'm a big no. Anytime they're not in a vehicle and they fight with their fists, I like
2 thumbs up from me.
That's the stuff we like.
Yeah.
We don't like
That's what I wanted to see more of.
Which sucks because a lot of the hand-to-hand combat, there's not really a lot.
There's not a lot, no.
There's the big chase scene. There's this 2-minute
hotel.
Not even 2 minute, probably 1.5 minute scene in the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it. That's really it. As far as big. There's a scene, when he gets pulled over and he disarms the cops. But that's not, I wouldn't call that a fight scene. It's just disarming a
Now I'll say this. This movie has a ray of sunlight in the middle of it. This golden beam of amazingness that shines through everything else in this movie, and that is the opera scene.
I'm glad you brought that up because when I was watching it, I was like, ooh.
That whole scene slaps.
Yeah.
That whole sequence, I'm like, that's some good shit.
That's when I watched that.
Yeah.
That's when the link between that and the video game clicked for me.
Oh, really?
Because that is straight out of a Hitman mission.
Yeah.
Just go into an opera
with all these rich people.
And having to
and you're sitting
kill
there,
one of them.
Yeah,
I thought
listening on the radio.
And it cuts between that and the play.
Yeah.
And them talking.
And the music cuts out when they start fighting. And I'm just like,
I thought that was dope. Yeah, the only thing you can hear when they're chasing him is the gunshots and the singing.
That whole sequence, I was like, if this was the climax in the movie,
that's go tier.
This probably would have been a 10 out of 10.
That is go tier stuff.
Because that's the kind of that style of editing and action and directing you have for your climax. Like that's the kind of thing, at least in my opinion, you pulled out all the stops for that kind of stuff. The hotel stuff is like
generic.
Well, we already saw him survive a plane crash. Of course he's going to get his way out of the hotel. You need something extra. And it was all those extra elements that the opera scene had that I was like, that's amazing.
I'm trying to think of a movie that did. I feel like a movie did do that.
Something similar to
where it cuts between like a play or a movie or something and characters fighting.
Oh, it's been done thousands of times before.
I'm trying to think.
Trust me.
I'm trying to think of an example, but it's still done regardless extremely well.
It's always good every time it's done.
Yeah, if you do it right, yes.
Yeah. And this movie does it very well.
Yeah.
For sure. I just remember that whole sequence too, which is why I brought it up.
I'm glad you did because I made a mental note.
And that's where he does the cool thing where he has the guy old boy style. He has the guy old boy style like dangling him off the road.
Oh yeah.
And he drops him on the guy's car, and I'm like, I thought that was pretty cool.
I'm not gonna kill. Or what is it? The Dark Knight scene where I was just thinking of that.
Who are you? I'm Batman.
And scene. Do you think there's a? So you talked about a through line from Casino to
This movie.
Mm-hmm. And not to step on Skyfall because we'll be doing that on another episode.
Yes.
Within the week. Do you see any through line between this movie and Skyfall?
In the vacuum or knowing what I know going ahead?
Let's do in a vacuum first.
In the vacuum, not at all.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Knowing what I know going ahead, the tension between Bond and M.
Yes.
Just
I was gonna bring that
both
up.
movies is like, because in the first movie she's like, we want you to do your job, but you get away with it this time. And in this movie, it's like 30 minutes in, she's like, you're fired next time you do something like that. And then he does it anyway. And I'm just like,
I think she says something like, I trust him, but I hate
how good he is, or something like that.
Like something along the lines of, I don't like how he does what he does, but he gets it done regardless, or something. I'm paraphrasing very, very broadly, but she says something along that.
That's
sentiment.
your Judi Dench impression.
I'm not gonna do a British accent. I'm not gonna do a 7-year-old woman British accent, but no, I agree with you. Seeing, I all your points I see, and I was actually gonna make a point of that, but we'll have to make a point of that in Skyfall.
Whoa.
So, any last words on
how would you rank these two?
These last two, tier wise, I think Casino's an A tier.
Yeah,
I think Quantum is a solid B.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's not so the thing to me, I compare Quantum to, and this is just the 3 that I've seen so far. Quantum to me is like the Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah,
where we're going backwards. Like
in terms
Batman
of
Begins is like,
ideas,
dope. Yeah. Like we're doing something cool. We're doing something new. Mm-hmm. There's a formula here, but we're experimenting with different stuff. The Dark Knight, it was like, no, we're just forget the formula. We're doing my thing here. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about Casino and Skyfall. And then with this movie, Quantum and The Dark Knight Rises, it's like, actually, we kind of like the formula. It's warm and it's fuzzy, and I like it. It's like, no, you've already given me that taste of something new. Let's keep it going. Let's do something new. And to me, that was what was frustrating about this movie. Like, Craig is wonderful. Everybody's wonderful in this movie, other than borderline the main villain. I didn't really care for his acting. Yeah, I didn't care for his acting. He was in it too much. We made those points already. And that tension, like we said, between M and Bond and MI6, like that was cool. The Bond girls or whatever, they're Bond girls. But to me, it's like, we could have been so much more.
Yeah.
Especially if we're leaning into it being a proper sequel to
What's
Casino.
funny, too, is that they could have done a lot more and still had been, their runtime was fine. Yeah. They just had to, just have more interesting scenes than what they had.
There was nothing about the Bolivia's stuff was just really in the movie.
Yeah.
Other than the individual scenes of that's cool. That's really well done. Just really was captivated me. Regardless, it was an entertaining watch. I don't regret watching it.
No, for sure.
Do I want to own it? Maybe just to have, the
all
5 Craig movies.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's definitely not my favorite.
Yeah. Aesthetically, I prefer it over Casino Royale. But as a standalone James Bond movie, it really just feels like fan fiction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's fair. It's a return to form, but the next one is not a return to form. In some ways, more than one. So I'm just gonna tease that one. That should be coming out in a couple of days.
Let's talk about this right before we go.
Many Saints in Newark. Let's talk about it. No, I'm just kidding.
Which opening song did you prefer?
Oh man. I don't even remember the opening songs.
I preferred Quantum of Solace. I like the animation, all the sand, and the hourglasses, the time imagery.
I don't remember any of that.
I prefer the song in that one. Well, okay. In terms of the musicians who did them, because
who did the first one?
Chris Cornell from Soundgarden.
Okay.
And the second one was Jack White from the White Stripes.
Is it really Jack
and
White?
Alicia Keys.
Holy crap! No way.
The kind of a weirdest combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like pulling Billy. It's like putting someone like Billie Eilish in a Bond movie. Oh wait. But you did prefer Quantum.
I would say I preferred it. Yeah.
Okay.
Personally, the song was okay. We'll talk about Bond songs when we talk about.
I mean, it's no Adele.
Spectre.
It's no Adele.
No, when we talk about Spectre, we'll talk about Bond songs.
It's no Adele.
If you know, you know.
Or Billie Eilish. Anyways, we're out of here. That was our talk on Quantum and Casino. Hopefully, we can get this out, or I can get it out within the week.
Because we have to do the other two before the movie comes out. We
still have to do the other two before Bond comes out, which we're also doing a review of Bond sometime probably next week. Because it comes out Friday, and there's no guarantees we'll watch it
on Friday.
But we will watch it. We will review it. We will talk about it. I'm very excited. So is James. Regardless, this was It Play. Thank you guys for watching. This just us talking about Daniel Craig and how much we appreciate him.